searching for one specific carving. And here is that weird carving. What is this? Is it a bike? A bicycle? How is this even possible? But is it really a bike or is it something else? Look at the front wheel. The tire looks okay, but in the center, a bicycle usually has spokes. What is this? An ancient secret symbol, a type of endless knot we see in Hindu temples. I've shown you a variety of Naga knots in Hindu temples, but here, this one has so many features, and explaining this will distract us from analyzing this carving. But the back wheel is even more fancy. It's not a wheel at all, it is a giant flower. There are petals radiating from the center, and in the middle, you can see a large circle. The average diameter of a bicycle wheel is 2.5 feet, and an average sunflower is just 2.5 inches wide. So this must be a giant flower that came out of the sculptor's imagination, right? Wrong. Indonesia is home to the world's largest individual flower. This giant flower can bloom up to a diameter of 3.3 feet and weigh up to 24 pounds. Its scientific name is Rafflesia arnoldi, named after the giant Arnold Schwarzenegger. Not really, but it's recognized as a national flower of Indonesia and is called the giant Padma. Padma means lotus in Sanskrit, and Indonesians see it as a giant lotus, a sacred flower. But why did they carve this giant flower in the place of a wheel? But as we go up, all our doubts get eliminated. This is clearly a bicycle. He is sitting on a seat and holding a curved handlebar with both his hands. And in the front, there is a round light bulb, and his leg is clearly placed on the pedal here. And as he is riding the bike, a mongoose and a dog are running underneath it. They're going to get run over by the bike. So there should be no doubt that this is a bicycle. But there is some strange connection between Hindu temples and bicycles. I've shown you a total of 3 different bike carvings in 3 different Hindu temples. Only one of them is from an ancient temple in India. This temple in India is quite ancient, and we can see an Indian man riding a bicycle, making us wonder if ancient Indians used such vehicles 2,000 years ago. I recently showed you another carving of a bicycle in Bali. This shows a European riding a bicycle, and that temple not only had a bike, it even had cars, guns, and had planes flying in the sky. And this is the 3rd temple, and this temple has the largest carving of a bicycle. The carvings in other temples were smaller, but this carving is more than 4 feet tall. That's a huge carving. But who is this guy? He's not wearing pants. He's wearing a sarong, the traditional Balinese dress, and you can even see the flower patterns on the sarong. And on his head, you can see him wear a cloth and see the knot in front. This is also a Balinese tradition. Is he a Balinese man? But he's also wearing a button shirt, and you can even see a pocket on it. And here's the curious detail. There is a rope or a belt going around his chest. This reminds us of European clothing. Who is this mysterious guy? This guy's name is W.O.J. Nieuwenkamp. I'm sure I butchered his name, but he was a Dutch explorer who came to Bali and explored Bali using his bicycle. He was the very first person to bring a bike to the island of Bali. He introduced the bicycle in 1904. When he arrived here, this temple was still under construction. Some locals say this is a very ancient temple, more than 1,000 years old, and they began renovating it in 1890. Others say this is a new temple.
אקסטרה תוספות, אקסטרה פריך, אקסטרה טעים. חדש, טקס פיטנס אקסטרה. עוד מאוד שעה, ודברים ברמה, שחפה שזה חדי, אבל אני הכי מצחוק להם. מה?
אני בדרך להפוך לאישה.
זה נהדר, אבל בשבילך יחך.
מי זאת? תוכנית מערכונים חדשה. בכאן 11 וכאן בוקס.
And they only started building it in 1890. No matter what's true, this carving was definitely done around 1904. To regular people this old, 1904 makes it about 120 years old, and ordinary historians would be delighted to see a 120-year-old carving of a bike in a temple. But in my videos, we usually talk about ancient temples, like 1,000-year-old temples, so it feels like a letdown. But something doesn't make sense, right? Why would the temple sculptor just randomly decide to carve a man, that too a foreigner, simply because he introduced the bike to Bali? Why didn't they carve the first guy who put a car, a ship, and a plane in Bali? Why didn't they carve other famous people, politicians and musicians who lived at that time? There is an interesting backstory to this. It turns out that the temple's construction began in 1890, but they could not finish the temple even after 14 years. Why? Some say they did not have enough money to finish the project. When Nieuwenkamp came to Bali in 1904, he visited this temple, and after learning about the temple's financial situation, he donated a huge amount of money. And because of his contribution, they could finish the temple. Without his donation, this temple would have been unfinished and would have been left to ruins. In Hindu temples, there is a beautiful practice. If someone donates for the temple construction, his or her name will be written on the temple walls. This is not a recent practice. It has existed even 1,000 years ago. Some Indian temples still bear the donors' names even after 1,000 years. But in this temple, since this Dutch explorer literally helped them finish the temple, they've not written his name, they've carved his figure in memory of him. And look, today, 120 years later, we are talking about him because he was so kind and helpful. There's a valuable lesson here. It's easy to be clever, but it's hard to be kind. But if you're kind to others, people will remember you forever. And notice the flower in his ear. There is a hole drilled here to put a flower. And notice that it's a fresh flower. Locals say they still come in every morning and put a new And I personally feel very happy that through this video, more people will learn about this act of kindness. And more people will also learn about this amazing temple. The name of this temple is Pura Midway. And if you visit Bali, please visit this temple and enjoy this carving. I hope you like this video. I am Praveen Mohan. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
בשנות ה-20 המוקדמות חלה ירידה ברמות החומצה ההיאלורונית בגוף. החומצה ההיאלורונית אחראית לספק לחות ונפח לעור, ולכן כאשר אנו מפסיקים לייצר אותה באופן טבעי, נראים הזמן סימנים כמו קמטוטים וריפים של העור. אני ממליצה על שימוש בתכשירים המכילים חומצה